Today I'm going to show you how to make a stencil with a repeating pattern that you can use on your wall to give the look of wallpaper. The first thing I did was sketch out this drawing. You can sketch out a drawing, find a pattern that you like. The next step, once you have your design, the next step is you want to trace your design if you don't want to mess up your original design. So I don't want to lose this one. So I'm going to go ahead and trace it onto this paper. And I'm going to do that by using tracing paper. So this part is black, so that goes down, and it's like old typing paper. Whatever I push down on this, it will show up on here. I'm going to use 2 sheets to make sure everything is covered well. I'm going to line this back up, making sure that it's on my paper. And then all I'm going to do is trace it. Traced your drawing onto another piece of paper. The next step is to go over with a black, I like to use a black marker, but you're going to go and mark the places that you want to cut. So like this particular flower, if I were to cut all along all of these lines, I would just end up with the outline of the flower. I wouldn't have the petal definition, which is fine, but sometimes when you're stenciling, it's hard to lose track of those details. So what I would do is I would want to cut, and I didn't go all the way down to the middle, and what I'm going to do is kind of outline that shape like that and that. So this part would be cut. And the part right here, it would still be connected, so that would actually give me a good mark for my stencil. And I don't always color it in, I just want to make it easy for you to see where I would cut. But sometimes too, if you have an intricate design, it's easier for yourself to see how the pattern will lay out. So this petal here, I'm going to go, instead of on the line of the petal, I'm going to go right next to it here and trace it. And the same here, I'm not going to go all the way to the line, so trace it. So I'm going to continue. Okay, so I have gone through and made all my marks where my stencil cuts would be. And the next thing to do is you're going to cut this into 4 equal parts. So what I've done is, it is, let's see, 14 inches this way. So I measured 7 inches on either side. And I am going to go ahead and try to make as straight as line as I can. Make a line that way. And then I have measured the center point on this part. Let's see, I'm going to make sure I line it up. I should probably have a longer ruler, but c'est la vie. Pretty straight. Okay, so I now have 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. So what I'm going to do now is cut it. You can use a pair of scissors. I find that this fabric cutting roller seems to work really well. So again, I'm going to line it up on my cut mat, which makes it really easy to make sure that it's straight. it into 4 equal parts. My pattern into 4 equal parts, and the next thing I'm going to do is take the bottom and swap it with the top like that, and then I'm going to swap left to right like that. So now it looks like that. So now we're going to tape it back together. What I like to do is I like to use painter's tape, because if I need to remove it, it doesn't rip the paper. So I'm going to try to line it up as best I can as I tape it together here. See, that one I have to reposition, but it's okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and carefully flip it over and secure the back a little bit better so that it doesn't come apart. Let's see, it goes this way. Okay, so now you have this. If you want your stencil to have more pattern to it, right now your pattern would be like this and there'd be a big open space. But if you want that open space, you can go ahead to the next step. If you don't want that open space, then you can go ahead and draw something in the middle here. Okay, the next step, we've cut it into 4s. We've flip-flopped them around. I filled in this middle space with a pattern. The next thing you need to do is trace it again onto a solid piece of paper, either heavy cardstock or poster board. You can do the same process that we did before with the tracing paper, or I just wanted to show you another way. If you didn't want to use tracing paper, you can go ahead and tape it to a window, and then just take the piece of paper and tape it over the top. Let's see if I can do this without blocking. And then you're gonna go ahead and trace all of those dark spots. It's kind of a good way to fill it all in when you're doing the stencil outlining part. It makes it a little bit easier to see. So I'm going to go around and I'm going to make sure that I go all the way to the edge. And I'm going to go around and trace the entire pattern. Okay, so I have traced my pattern. I did it on the window this time. So now I have my stencil made, and the way that it comes over to the edges, that part will line up when I go ahead and put it on the wall. So the next step to do is to go ahead and cut it out. You want to make sure that you have something to protect your surface, like a cut mat. If you don't have a cut mat, you could use a cutting board, you could use a piece of cardboard. So I'm going to use that and an X-Acto knife. And what I'm going to do is just cut along my lines. And it's okay if it's not, a super clean line, because since you're not going to be doing paint with this stencil directly, you're going to be tracing it and then painting it. It gives you a little bit of wiggle room. So when I'm doing curved shapes like this leaf, if I just kind of drag it around, and then when I get down here to the bottom, rather than picking up my knife, I'm gonna go ahead and just twist my paper around until I get to the next point. So if you have a nice sharp blade, it'll make this process a lot easier. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to cut this out, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have finished cutting out this stencil. One part over here, I got really excited and actually accidentally cut the stencil apart. But not to worry, I just took a little bit of tape and taped it together, and it's as good as new. So it's just that easy. We took this drawing, and through those 6 easy steps, we were able to create a stencil with a repeating pattern.